Well, Steve, today it's sort of us being organic the way we do it because I'm involved with it. It's sort of a celebration day, isn't it?
Yes, very exciting.
Okay, so now you're well seasoned and you're what they call it. I know you're going to hate this because you're still a stud puppy, but you're a mature investor.
Getting there, getting there.
Okay,
yes.
so you're
Yes.
comfortable with your system and with your people and with
Yes.
everything, and it worked out. And you
Yes.
started about a month ago starting to look for another property. Is that right?
Yes, it was just at the end of refinancing, the one that I worked on towards the end of last year, and just was starting to get in the mode of looking for the next purchase.
Well, let me go on to one last year because that means that you bought the property sometime in the fall and
Yes.
you got it fixed up within, say, a month and a half, 2
Yes.
months. You got it fully rented by the
Yes,
third month, and now it's had about 6 months seasoning.
very close to that. Yes.
And because you built an association with a commercial bank,
Yes.
that you were able to go in and you are going to take it from the purchase and acquisition stage and fix up stage to the code
Yes.
with your contractor and your property manager.
Yes.
So you're refinancing.
Yes.
And did you get a good interest rate because you now have this connection and they have a large book of business with you?
Absolutely.
Good, good. So you're happy with that. I see your
Very
teeth
much.
are showing.
Yeah. Very happy.
Well, good. So that property is going along nicely, and you went to work again last month, and you started shaping things, and you found out it was pretty busy out there.
Oh yeah, very active.
And you came to
Very
me, and you mentioned the word active, and you knew that was a mistake, right?
Right.
Because I said, what?
Yeah, it doesn't matter really what time of year. I mean, things are gonna come if you know your criteria. When you see it, it's gonna be there.
So it's going to be there.
Right.
And what happened last week?
I stumbled on another one.
Stumble on another one.
Yes.
And what's the key to this being organic? What's the key in purchasing it? What's the first thing you looked at?
The first thing, I mean, you're looking at the price point and you have to buy it right. So
Oh, you have to buy it right.
incredibly, that's the thing. So throughout the system, it's very important that you one, get leads, right? And this one we purchased, we just happened to be on MLS for
So you have-
that I get
You
every
have
week.
3 or 4 sources where you,
Right.
and
Right.
plus your property manager keeps her eye out in the neighborhood.
That's correct.
Okay, so you're
Because
active.
there's no one way to really get a price.
Well, you have all year to get at least
Right.
one good property a
Right.
year, don't you?
Right. So it's very important that you look at all sources.
Okay.
But yeah, this one just came on. We looked at it. The price point was typically where we like to buy. And then it was just a matter of going in, doing evaluation that we typically use, and we'll take you through that as well, how we kind of go through evaluating them. The numbers worked out. Didn't hesitate, said, hey, let's talk to the property manager, said, hey, let's go take a look at that one. Contractor worked with the agent.
Wait a minute. Now, you got your property manager. You're here in Atlanta.
That's correct.
She's in
Ohio.
Ohio, where the property is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So she got who?
Contractor.
You got your contractor to bring the
Right.
property up to code if you acquire it.
Correct.
So he has to look at it.
Right. That's what
He
we
has
do.
to know what's in front of him, and he has to give you an estimate.
Yes.
Good, good,
Yes.
good.
So we were able to do that, and that's the next day, and that's the important thing here. This
Okay.
was the very next day. Looked at because time is of the essence. When you
So
see
my
something-
term, time sensitivity, makes a lot of sense because you were working full-time job somewhere
Yes,
else, and you were
yes.
spending a little time on your marketing looking for a piece of property, and when it showed up, you have time sensitivity. By the way, what does that mean in my terms?
that means getting right on it.
Get right on it and do what?
And evaluate it, and then if it makes sense, make an offer.
Make a solid offer. And what did you offer for this property?
This one was going for 25, and the offer was 25. 'Cause,
Okay, you met the offer because your property manager or your contractor said something to you?
yeah, once we had the initial evaluation and saw that there were some things that we needed to work on, but it was in the realm of what we normally purchase for, it was worth it. It was worth it.
How long did this prior owner, because that's part of the research you do, right?
Mhm.
How long did they own it prior to you making the offer?
A couple of years. It looks
Couple
like.
of years. So they
yeah.
bought it in a recession, heavy recession, huh? And apparently somebody bought it prior to that. There's a tax
Right.
value on this property, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what's the tax value on this property?
Roughly 80. A little
Okay,
bit
so
higher.
80,000.
Yes.
So you're buying now because apparently the person that was in it 2 years didn't have the proper mentors, didn't have the proper system, didn't have a property manager that knew what they were doing, and so therefore they were glad to offload it to you.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it sounded like it said that they didn't even want to deal with any other offers. Once that seems like they were extremely motivated, which
So,
is key.
so that's key.
You got to get a
I
motivated
was going to
seller.
ask that. That's key.
You
That's,
want to motivate a seller.
so in the time sensitivity,
Yes.
you have the cash available and backed up in 2 or 3 sources.
Yes.
Okay, your own, a private investor, a bank.
Yes.
You can make an offer, boom.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and that money talks, and pardon the expression, BS walks.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, so BS doesn't work.
No.
This is a money offer.
Right. Correct.
Now, what did you discover in the interim when you made the offer? What was happening when your property manager and your contractor were out there? Who showed up?
A couple other investors.
A couple other investors.
Yeah. So.
And they came with their non-mentor directed ideas, apparently.
Yeah. So they were on the scope. I'm not sure if they were seasoned or not, but they were.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Nope.
Because you were time sensitive, you made the offer
Right.
in cash,
Yes.
and that person wanted off the property, apparently.
Yes. So
Whatever the reason.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting in your whole neighborhood, you keep discovering people buy stuff in the wrong way. They overprice it. They don't understand the property. They don't understand the management. They don't, and then they come out 2 or 3 years later and sell you the property for a decreased price. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that's what you're saying by buy right. Now,
Absolutely.
you aren't making a whack-eyed offer off to the side saying 10 cents on the dollar or some crazy thing that you hear about and other things.
Right.
You're going by what neighborhood purchase prices are in the current year.
Yes.
And in this case, it's 25,000.
Yes.
Okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to go get something. So you've got a property. Where do you like to go about 2 months from now when your property is acquired, fixed up the code, and your property manager is renting it to people, and you're starting to season your property? What is this? What type of bird is this? Do you know, Steve?
That is looks like a pelican.
It is a pelican. And this came from a friend of yours. And her name is Karen, and she's this beautiful woman who's a bloody genius, which you encountered, right? Which helps
Yes.
us.
Yes.
And she'll help other people on our website.
Yes. Yes.
And she sent this to me because she knows this is my favorite bird. I think these guys are cool because they hang around the ocean and they're smarter than the average bird.
Yes.
So I'm using this as symbolism. You have to have a reason for going through the next phase of work, which takes you about, I'm going to say average 10 hours a week for the next 6 weeks. Okay, and you're going to acquire an income of $18,000, $20,000 a year going forward for the next 45 years if you have it maintained.
Yes.
So every year you'll be able to go to the beach after you do something right and go
Absolutely.
see my friends penguins.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Pelicans.
Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me,
With the
pelicans.
pelican.
I can't, at 75, I can't even tell the difference between my favorite bird and a penguin. Happy time, isn't it?
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Because once you decide this is the thing that you want to do, that you're in full control of this, aren't you?
Yes.
I mean, you're not in control of, the government has certain standards they'd like you to keep minimum,
Right.
but you have no problem with that, do you?
No.
Because you know that the seniors and the ones you want as tenants who are good paying tenants,
Right.
they want a piece of property that's fixed up nicely. They don't want it luxurious, they just want something fixed up.
Correct.
And your guy knows that.
Right.
And he knows also when he sends in his plumbers or his electricians or other people or repairs, your property manager knows that this tenant is the most important because they're the best payers.
Yes.
Okay, when you get this property seasoned, you just ended up seasoning one, it'll be 6 months from now, 8 months from now, and you'll be coming out of the bank with another pile of cash
Yes.
because you'll refinance it.
Correct.
And you'll refinance it for a lower rate.
Yes.
Good, good.
Yes.
So then you put more money in your pocket because your cost of purchase is nothing, isn't it?
Correct.
So when you go to the bank to refinance it, we'll talk about banking and funding. I want to bring that up.
Yes.
That we have a method because it is senior elderly housing and because it's low cost. Oh, let me ask a question.
Mhm.
25,000, and you said this property has 4,900 square feet in it, correct?
That's correct.
And it's a brick building.
Yes.
It's called a real building.
Right.
That's called low maintenance.
Low maintenance.
Yeah, and you got to keep the windows up. You got to keep the
Yes.
trim outside up. You got to keep the roof up, but that wall's brick.
Yes,
And that brick's been there since 1943, and it looks like it's in good condition, right?
absolutely.
So you're going to keep it clean and not deteriorating, no problem. So let me ask you a question. If I were to take the $30,000 acquisition price, including closing costs, and a 10% figure for any kind of mishap happening, and I divide it by the 4,900 square feet, that's how much about a square foot?
A little over 6.
A little over $6 a square foot you buy it. So if you built a place here in Atlanta or even Dayton, it costs you about $100 a square foot.
Yes.
And there's people out there telling investors they ought to acquire new property and get into new property because it's nice, it's in the neighborhood, and it's up over $100. And usually, in many areas, it can go as high as $240 a square foot, and you're buying it for $6.
Yes.
And then you're fixing it up inside, and you're cleaning it all up, and that's what it boils down to. And then you're going to rent it to older people, and they're going to be glad to pay you a reduced rent. And even the nonprofits, even the government buildings can't come close to this pricing, so they tend to stay with you until they either have to go to a nursing home or a hospice.
Correct.
And then you have to go find another nice person like them to take care of, and you're glad to do it?
Absolutely.
Okay. I have a feeling, I've always said to you, Steve, you have to have a reason for what you're doing, and I always like to rent to old people because I'm always respected by them because I treat them with respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a good feeling for what we do. And by the way, where does after you have it refinanced and everything's all shaped up in the first 6 months, 8 months to a year, what happens over the rest of the years on this property? You put about $800 to $1,000 in your pocket every month?
Yes.
And Hip National?
And Hip National Bank.
Which
yes.
is what?
Which is
your wallet.
the wallet, yes.
Every month.
The wallet, yes.
Now, coming out of that, you got to pay your property manager, don't you?
Absolutely, yes.
Everything else is paid for in the rents, isn't it?
Yes, that's covered.
But you make a special thing to your property manager, and I advise you, because I looked at this new property. I think this one's nicer than the other ones. That sounds sort of
Yeah, we're pretty excited about
not
this.
nice, but
Pretty
that's
excited
the way I
about
see it.
Yes,
And it's got 2 more windows on each side, so it says it's bigger.
yes.
It's much bigger, and so what's inside it? Like a kitchen, a living room, a dining room, and a bedroom, and a bathroom?
Yes.
And is that something a senior or senior couple would like to downsize and be able to handle with their Social Security income and that sort of thing?
For sure.
And then you're going to take good care of it, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So isn't it say somewhere, if you take care of others first, then you will be taken care of? And so that's why you feel good about this acquisition?
Yes, really excited about this one.
And you keep hearing nightmare stories and everything else all over the place on other types of properties and investments, don't you?
All day long.
Okay. Are you aware that they're running out of properties to buy up in the nicer neighborhoods and they're getting all expensive and they can't make any money at it?
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Are you having that problem?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So when you go to the bank, do they like to talk to you about older people? Are they a little surprised that somebody actually does that?
Yeah.
And they don't want to touch any bad feeling with a 10-foot pole.
No.
Because they have older people that are grandparents or parents, and they have people they know in the neighborhoods and stuff that need to be taken care of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then they treat you with respect.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't trust them, they're bankers.
We have a real good relationship.
I wanted everybody to understand this is a good time. If you make a decision, a constant decision of acquiring one property on a sequence that is comfortable and you're not getting crazy and it comes in your way and you recognize what it is, and we'll teach you and show you and discuss how to do that. As a matter of fact, the next circle is about how we evaluate things. Steve does it in details with spreadsheets because he's acclimated to it, and I do it on the 10-finger system. But he's going to put in about another 25 grand on that property
Yes.
to get it right up to your standard.
Yes.
You see, old people, they want to see something nice for a refrigerator, something nice for a stove if they're steady rent payers.
We'll know a little bit more about this one actually this week when I actually go in and do the detail inspection.
Oh, you got somebody following up on your system and your steps, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I saw the listing, it said there were stoves and refrigerators, but you don't know what's there.
Right.
You might want to put in some new,
Right.
every year, Lowe's, Home Depot, Sears have sales on appliances, and you can
Yes.
buy 4 brand new refrigerators, 4 brand new stoves, and still be within that framework of fixing up property, maybe put a nicer countertop on top.
Yep.
and then clean up and fix up the bathroom, get nicer mirrors and make sure there's a few handrails and that sort of thing for a senior.
Yes,
So that's what this is all about.
that's what it is.
And every time you go out there, do you ever hear any bad words?
No.
Wait,
No.
how many properties do you have?
I'm working on the 9th.
And you don't get that many headaches coming at you, do you?
Not a lot at all.
You got a good property manager then, that's what you're telling me.
Excellent
And you got a
property.
great repairman, so make sure you manage, because your job as a property owner, Steve, isn't it true you're the manager of the managers of the property?
Yes.
And you're the bank, the contact to make sure, but you know, your property manager pretty well makes sure you're straight in terms of paying your bills on time, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you want to keep good credibility, because getting a link in a bank, you have to own 3 or 4 properties, and then you have to do it right. You have to make sure the cash flow works, and we'll talk about that in other circles. But
And
today,
I enjoy doing that piece. I enjoy doing that piece of it.
he's sick, but I farm that out. I've always farmed that out, and the reason I farm it out is because I'd rather be down at the beach playing with the what was that bird's name?
The pelican.
The pelican.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, this is about, you're happy for him, I'm happy because I know the feeling inside when I acquire a property and I know he's got a good one and I know he's got the right attitude and I know he's got the call to action to make sure he does it, and he knows how to wrap it up, and his people do, because he's been experienced and stays within a sector that he understands completely. And he does this part-time, and he's now going to increase his income approximately $18,000 a year.
Yes.
So everybody that's watching this, if you didn't get an $18,000 raise, you need to watch it closer.
Yes.
And you need to sit down and make some good decisions, and then get your fears aligned and get your apprehensions and everything else. And you're going to assume you can buy a nice house where you live. Steve lives in a nice house in the neighborhood, and I live in a normal-sized neighborhood, in a normal house, because I'm comfortable with it. But you don't buy property there. You don't buy any housing or rental properties, do you?
Mhm.
Because of what? All the horror stories?
Yeah. And you just don't make the cash flow that you can make.
So the last 9 years, you haven't had any horror stories except for the economy turning when I pulled you off and said, don't buy any properties for 2 or 3 years until we find out what the hell's going on out
Right.
here.
Right. Right.
So we also tell people when stuff's coming.
Yes.
Did you read an email recently?
Yes.
And I sent you an email with 3 web pages to point something out.
Yes.
And it's a quarterly review of what I do every quarter to check out the pulse of what's going on outside. So that's how I know how to make the decision to pull you off or everyone else off,
Mm-hmm.
and have them sit on the sidelines until we find out what's going on.
Right.
But today, you know the happiness of staying with the idea, purchasing the kind of property you want at a decent price that's workable at a good price point. I think that's what you formal guys call it.
Yes.
Okay, I used to call it, I'm not cheating people down. I buy houses and properties in the neighborhood price. I do it in the framework, but I stay in low income because it's a lower entry point and I make a higher profit if I do stuff right. And that's what this is all about. So Steve, anything else on the property you want to talk about besides saying Yahoo?
No, very excited about this one. I'll keep you updated as I kind of progress through it, but just excited to get this one under my belt.
So we're going to make some more videos for the circle groups for Lamar to be able to say how you're progressing at each stage and what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And you told me, didn't you tell me yesterday on the phone when you told me about this, you're going to invite Lamar out from San Diego to Dayton, Ohio, and within the next month?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we talked this morning. We're trying to make some arrangements.
And that's good because he'll do some filming, and Lamar's good at that, and he'll do his viewpoint of what he's up to and that kind of a thing. And next week I'll be looking for property that he'll be interested in here in Atlanta, and I'm going to the registry of deeds with 12 properties.
Okay. Okay.
And I go, you know, hey, I didn't go to a fancy university that tells you to hire a lawyer to do this. I go and I sit down with the pretty ladies and I ask them, you know, I have a property address. Can you pull that up on a screen for me? Because I'm mentally retarded. And I get the screen and I say, can you print that? And they print it, and I go through 12 of them. And then I make sure, they're not supposed to have it happen, but I make sure I hand them an envelope with their lunch money in it. And they go to a nice place for lunch. And the reason I do that, I leave them a gift and they don't like it. I say, well, give it to charity. Do what you want. But I always try to thank people. And your husband's young, strong, and I don't want to go to have a problem if I took you to lunch. So And this is what the part of the business is about. Enjoy yourself. You know, and Steve and I will discuss down on the beach in Florida this particular piece of property or another one like it, and we'll have you be there as benefit for it. So with that, we're going to end up. And Steve, can I thank you for the time?
Thank you.
And I'm so proud of you, I can't stand it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, you crossed another line. Do you know that?
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you had a plan way in the beginning. You got a 100% increase in your retirement and present income raises.
Yes.
And it's a system and a plan that you can use, and you don't kill yourself, and you don't have any nightmares, you don't lose much sleep.
Nope.
You have apprehension in the beginning, and then as the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, yeah, if you have 10 properties, everybody's going to say, boy, are you lucky.
Right.
And you're going to say, right, I'm lucky, I made the right decision. So with that, thank you, and Steve.
Thank you.